Hello, Midafupa. Welcome once more to After Village Kitchen. Yes, join me today. We are going to make Ga Kenkey. Yes, I have been missing in action for a while. Please forgive me because life was happening too fast and I was just overwhelmed. I had a lot of videos to edit for you guys and I just couldn't do it. So I just had to take a break. Okay, so yeah, as part of my busy schedule, I had my lovely niece visiting me sometime last autumn, and we did sightseeing in London. We had a wonderful time in London, and then she also decided to make Ga Kenkey. So she grew up learning how to make Ga Kenkey from her mom, so she decided to share her knowledge. So I thought, yay, it's nice to see young people know how to make our traditional foods. So yeah, sit tight, let's cook together, and yeah, maybe you pick one or more tips here too. Thank you for joining me. Don't forget to click the like button, give us a thumbs up, comment, and don't forget to subscribe if you have not subscribed already. For the kenkey, this wet grainy flour is now turned into a wet moist dough. Like you can mold it like this. So we added water to get this into this state. So you don't want it too wet, neither do you want it too dry like this. So we have to we are going to do the same with this one, and then you see how it comes to this state. So yeah, so we purchased this dry corn dough from our local Ghanaian shop called Tina's Market in Wellington. If you live within Surrey area, it's your plug for all your Ghanaian and African foods, so do visit it. So she had this in stock and we said, oh, why not? So we grabbed some, and that's how it comes, quite dry. But in making Ga Kenkey, we need a much more of a wetter dough. So we had to first of all we had to really break it up to make sure it was nice and grainy. I wouldn't say smooth, it's grainy. There were no lumps in there before we started adding the water. So we added the water in bits, okay, because this one we are not doing anything by measurements, it's by eyeballing, okay, the old school way. Also, I need to mention that this dough corn that we bought was fermented. So the traditional way is to wet the corn kernels and then soak the corn kernels for some couple of days, usually 3 to 7 days, and then it is drained, dried, and it is milled. So you have this kind of dough. Yes, this is how it looks like when it is milled after it has fermented. But once you take it home to make your kenkey, you have to wet it into a dough like this. It needs to look like this, wet, right? Okay, so that's why when we got back after purchasing it, we had to wet it into this form. So now we are about to start our Ga Kenkey. So we divided the corn we had into two because we were going to use the other half for Ga Kenkey and then the other half for fancy kenkey. So we are starting with the Ga Kenkey, and here is this video for the Ga Kenkey. So also with the wet corn dough, you have to divide it into two when you start making your Ga Kenkey. All right, you need half of it. Some people use maybe a bit more than half, or split into three, or it's up to you, whatever texture you prefer. But my niece here was doing the half method, so she was just gauging, dividing it into two, and then we're going to cook that one in the pot into the aflata. That is almost like getting it into a banku state, right? But it wouldn't be fully cooked and it would be much softer. So for this wet dough in the pot, we added some water to mix it up and to loosen it up for us to be able to cook it into the aflata. We also added in some salt for taste. It is very important to mix up the dough with the water to get a smooth consistency. Very, very important. Otherwise, you have lumps in your aflata. So here, my niece was just using her fingers to mix it up and to make sure it is nice and consistent and fluid.
Add some salt.
Okay.
The salt, it was say salty. And so the baby out the fry now.
Okay.
Balance out.
Okay.
But it has to be salty too. In
Taste.
taste. Say anya salty, I'll be no aberry no. I'll be no wouldn't so never no aberry no I tasteless. So I say we need salty.
Yeah.
So now we are adding our salt. This is enough.
Wow, okay. Come here for kakri. Me for be brisa. But I'm power my who adia okano.
But would they mix it so now we can one na nchini ni ma. Utimi ede kakra.
Now that the mixture was lump free and we had the right consistency, we proceeded to cook the mixture. And point to note here is you need to keep stirring in one direction continuously on a low to medium heat. All right, you don't want the mixture to start getting lumpy inconsistently. It needs to form lumps and become one whole lump, if you get what I mean. It's just like making banku. If you're used to Ghanaian cuisine and you know how to make banku, it's just like you're making banku. And my niece said they would cook this for it to cook well, right? So that you can actually eat it if you wanted to. But in my previous recipes, you would realize that I do not let it cook thoroughly. So once it comes together as a dough and it's slightly cooked, that was it for me. But for her, I think she said she likes to cook it thoroughly. So you can see how beautifully cooked this aflata is. It's just like you would have banku. There are no lumps. It's nice and smooth. It's thickened up beautifully. So it is ready now for us to add into the corn dough, which we set aside. So this, my niece was saying that she added a bit of water and she was explaining that the dough was still a little bit too stiff, too hard, and she needed to soften it up a bit before we added in the aflata. So that's how kenkey is made. You cook one part and then you add it to the uncooked part, mix it really well, and then we form the balls and put it in the corn husk. So that's what we went on to do. So this part is done whilst the aflata is still hot. If you were to use your hands, you would have to let it cool down just a little bit, but it's actually done when it's hot. So it's always advisable to use a tool to help you mix it up so that you don't get burns. So here we use the bankuta, or our cooking spoon, wooden spoon, to help mix it up. So my niece also said that once you mix it up and it's well mixed up, you need to open it up for air to pass through, literally, but for it to aerate and I suppose to cool down evenly. That is what they do. I do not know the reason why, but I suppose it just helps with something. There's always a science behind it, I've come to realize, but we were never told what they are until you have kind of worked it out. So yes, after that we let it cool down a bit so that it is easy to handle. And then the corn husk. So what we did before was to soak we didn't actually soak it. In my previous video, I think what I grew up to know was that we used to soak the husk, but she said they just wash it. So she just washed it to remove any kind of debris and insects that are in there, and then that was it. It wasn't soaked. The husk weren't soaked for a long time. It was just washed, and then we used it to mold the corn dough balls. And just see the technique she uses. There's no way I can explain this to you, so you just have a look at how she does it so that you can also replicate it. I'll try.
Okay. Depending on how big the ball is or the corn husk is, find one to seal it. You can seal it this way. It's not enough, doesn't matter, you can always add more, just a little bit.
Metofupa, I hope you can now make your own ball of kenkey without any wahala. Yes, my niece has taken us through the step by step. We've taken our time to mold several of them, and I've also not edited it too much. That's why this video is long. It's for you to get the techniques right. Okay, so once all the balls were done, we were actually not going to cook it that same day. So to prevent it from drying out, the kenkey from drying out, we use the corn husk to cover the kenkey. So sometimes too, you can also put the kenkey in the fridge. That helps to keep it nice and moist, and also stop it from fermenting. But the fridge was full, we didn't have any space there, so we thought, okay, we'll just cover it with the corn husk and also cook it the next day. So sometimes some kenkey sellers leave their kenkey uncooked for a long time, and this means that the kenkey will continue to ferment. That is why sometimes you eat some kenkey and then straight after eating the kenkey you are knocked out because it has fermented too much. So the next day we went ahead to cook it, and we lined the bottom of the pan with the corn husk we used to cover the kenkey. This is to ensure that our kenkey is steaming. Okay, so in cooking kenkey, the method used is called steaming, and traditionally this is exactly how they do it. They line the pot, the kenkey pot, with some corn husk. It provides a base for the kenkey to sit on so that it doesn't burn, and so that it is not directly in contact with the bottom of the pan and the water at the bottom, so that it kind of steams and boils at the same time. So also my niece was explaining to me that in putting the kenkey in the pot, there's a way to do it. You want to put it with the sealed side down, and that's the sealed side is the bit that without the bit of kenkey sticking out. So that sealed side goes down, and you layer it all around, ensuring that each layer, the sealed side sits down and sits on top of if you've got like 2 or 3 layers. I mean, when the kenkey sellers are cooking their kenkey, they have a big barrel, okay? So they may have about maybe 5 to 10 layers of kenkey in that pot. So it is the same kind of arrangement, always the sealed side down. Okay, so once all the kenkey was in the pot, we started to cook it by adding some water, just enough water to just about cover it, and then we started to cook the kenkey.
Okay. Sometimes because of say boiling, it's a basa or so she's enough because being and soon.
So just enough water was added to the top of the kenkey, not overflowing it, but just enough on the level of it. And then we also covered the pot with a piece of cloth to help it steam. The cooking method is to steam. So let's say if you have a steamer, you can, in a modern kitchen, you can just go ahead and steam your kenkey. All right, so whilst the kenkey was cooking, I mean, it was going to take about 40 minutes to an hour or so for it to cook. And it was a Saturday, so we thought, hey, today is kenkey party. So we went ahead to fry some fish and some shrimps, the Ghana style shrimps. And we thought, okay, let's recreate that kenkey style, Saturday Kenkey style. But we decided to season the fish and the shrimps with some 10 spice blend and some kelewele spice. All right. Traditionally, I mean, what we normally have from the Kenkey sellers, to be honest, they don't even add any kind of seasoning apart from salt to the fish. And let's be mindful that usually their fish is fresh, straight from the sea. So just the salt is enough to make it so tasty. So their pepper, their fish, and their kenkey, hey, bibia square. But we decided to add flavor to ours because, of course, our fish is not straight from the sea. We wish. So we added some extra flavors and then we went ahead to fry. So I do have a way to, a video on how to fry fish the Ghana style fried fish. You can check out that video. All right, we did quite a similar thing here. We didn't coat the fish in flour because sometimes I personally don't like too much flour on the fish, but to prevent it from sticking to the bottom of the frying pan, we just put in some flour in the hot oil. This helps it not to stick in the fish not to stick on the pan. All right, so and then we also added in some aromatics. Here we added in some rosemary to give that extra flavor to the fish whilst it was frying. After 45 minutes to an hour, we checked on the kenkey. It wasn't cooked, but it needed water, some more water. So we topped up the water and allowed it to cook again. So there are some tips on how to know if the kenkey is cooked. I'll share that very, very soon. So keep watching. So we are getting close, so close to the kenkey getting ready. Our fish was ready, our shrimps were frying. We're trying to get it nice and crisp with slow frying, and yes, trying to replicate what we normally eat back at home. Okay, so after another couple of minutes, maybe 15 more minutes to 30 minutes, we checked on the kenkey and it was now cooked. So the tip on how to know if your kenkey is cooked is if you poke your finger in one of them, the kenkey will bounce back. So you can see that's what she was doing. She poked her finger in it and then it just gently bounced back. If it's not cooked, it will stay, the indent of your finger will still be there. So that's how you know when your kenkey is cooked. If still in doubt, just take one out and open it up. It is very, very hot though, so be careful. Open it up and try it and see if it tastes raw or it's perfect. So I hope you have loved this video. This video has been long, but I hope you have enjoyed it. Okay, after my long abstinence, yes, you needed a long video to keep you entertained and for you to get more tips. You know, after Village Kitchen, we are all about tips, especially when it comes to learning our traditional foods. So once the kenkey is cooked, it is important that it is taken out of the pot and allowed to cool down. This is actually done traditionally. They try and take out all the kenkey, pack it up into another pan or pot and allow it to cool down. They don't leave it in the pot that it cooked. No. And usually you get a bit of water I've forgotten what they call it now. A bit of, kenkey, mashed kenkey like kind of water at the bottom, but we didn't have any water left because we didn't add so much water. So, and by the time we checked on it, we were just about lucky our kenkey did not get burnt. But that kenkey water at the bottom of your pot is so effective in curing any kind of fever. Or if you are ill, it just helps to make you better somehow. I do not know why, but yes, when we were little, we were given those kind of liquid to drink when we were ill, especially when we had malaria or any kind of fever. It just settled it so much for us. The way I love our Ghanaian foods, because every little thing is just filled with so much goodness, yet we don't even treasure our own. Anyway, so our food was cooked, ready for us to enjoy our lovely kenkey. So here my niece was just, tucking into her own plate, and it was just so yummy. I hope you will try this recipe. If you do, let me know. Even if you don't and you've picked up some extra few bits of tips here and there, please also let me know. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to share. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up and comment. Thank you so much for watching. See you in my next video. Bye-bye.